What's going on, everybody? I'm going to waste no time jumping into this total body workout using a Total Gym or some other sliding bench trainer. You can see I broke out the GR8FLEX for this particular workout. I'll put timestamps down below if you guys want to check those out. Otherwise, you guys can follow along with everything listed on the screen. On this first exercise, this first circuit, we're just going to jump in doing this seated power press would be the way for me to describe it. I'll start out just kind of nice and easy on this one for up 15 to 20 repetitions. This is just me kind of warming up, but then eventually I kind of get this little technique where I'll push off and then put my feet at the top to kind of rest for a second, kind of get your bearings so you can kind of fall back down into that eccentric, into that press. I feel like this would kind of work out best for kind of most people in all different ages and levels. And I still think it's pretty difficult. I mean, it works better on this GR8FLEX because you're less likely to kind of top out the machine. It doesn't come off the rails as much. So you can still definitely do it in the Total Gym. Just be careful how hard you press. But ideally, you want to press as hard as you can as you kind of fall into that eccentric and really charge yourself off into that to the top of the rails. For this next exercise, if you're following along, you might want to pause the video, just go ahead and attach your wing dip attachment. We're going to be doing the inverted presses for about 15 to 20 repetitions. And you'll notice as these circuits kind of progress, or as each set progresses, we will just kind of gradually up the tower, so kind of keep that in mind. So just doing about 15 to 20 repetitions. And I apologize for not putting the exact number of repetitions. That is the range that I'm doing for each of these sets. It's just kind of, I generally just like ranges. I know people want to know the exact number to make it a true follow along workout. But honestly, even as I'm doing these workouts, sometimes even a rep or two, I'm shy. As much as I tell myself, well, just do 15, just do 20. Sometimes it just depends on the exercise. It's kind of hard to really force out that 1 or 2 extra reps. So kind of do what you can. And again, there's not much rest periods in this workout. You always can pause it, and I'll put some probably some inserted, maybe a couple little, make one ad in there just to kind of give you guys a break. But I tried to, try to go at a moderate click, but this is going to go fairly fast paced, so I totally understand if you guys want to go ahead and pause the video. Now we're going to go into just regular pullovers, supine pullovers facing up. And you can see from that rep range I listed on that the set description that we'll be doing roughly about 10 to 15 repetitions. I believe on this first set here I get about 10 to 12. With pullovers in general, I feel like, yeah, you can really rip into them, especially if you're doing the face down pull-ups on your knees. But if you're face up, I really feel like you can more so feel the tension on this version. It's just a little bit more difficult. So it just depends on what kind of workout you want to do. Generally, if I'm going a little more focused, more slower paced, more controlled, want more tension in my lats, I'll go face up a lot of times. That was the first set of that first circuit. So just go ahead and attach your squat stand attachment, raise the tower if you guys would like, and now we're going to do a seated power press again, where you're going to be pushing off, taking a break, and then falling back into it. I understand as this gets a little higher, it gets a little more difficult, but also can be a little more cumbersome as you get into higher inclines. That's why I really kind of do this little pause at the top of your legs down. I still feel like this is pretty challenging. This is one exercise that doesn't look that hard when you're actually watching it, but I know when I did it, really trying to force myself to kind of push off as hard as I could. It doesn't look like I'm pushing that hard, but again, I'm also being mindful not to bottom out. I still thought this was pretty difficult to get 15 repetitions. You certainly can do more, and everything I'm doing, pause the video, just do a little bit extra. Again, there's timestamps down below if you guys want to go back to some place you kind of left off. But that's going to be it for circuit 1. I'll jump back in at the start of circuit 2. All right, we're wrapping up circuit 1 here. You can see I'm just struggling to get these last few reps here at this really high tower height. Once you're done with this, go ahead and pause the video if you'd like to then go ahead and drop the tower down and then remove the wing dip attachments. On the first exercise in this first circuit, we're doing chest flies, 10 to 15 repetitions. Not going to need to do a whole lot of repetitions since depending what tower height you're at. Again, I'm using the GR8FLEX. This has a little bit longer cables, so it's a little bit easier to kind of get these chest flies done without hitting the back of the sled, touching the tower. So just kind of work with what you got. Again, I'd recommend going as low as you possibly can to kind of get these rep ranges in there, and also making sure you're not stressing your shoulders too much. After that, we're going to go right ahead, swing around, and just do some lateral raises. Again, I apologize if this is going too fast, but I'm just kind of jumping right into it. This is going roughly 10 to 15 repetitions. Again, it's even though I kind of started at a moderate height, if yours is lower, you may be able to squeeze out a little bit more. I feel like around that 10 to 12 range was kind of the sweet spot for me as far as repetitions, because I'm already still at in my opinion, it's still more of a higher than moderate intensity. So especially as we kind of keep cranking up in these sets, these lateral raises will definitely get pretty tough. Now I'm going ahead and attaching the squat stand attachment. You guys don't need this right away. And ignore what I'm doing here. I kind of lost my train of thought here. I was going to detach this, but you don't need to detach this right away. We're going to go ahead and jump into some rear delt flies. Again, I got a lower rep range because I'm still leaving that tower height the same height. Ideally, I'd say I probably should lower that a little bit just because this is a little bit too high to really get adequate range of motion on the flies. I'm really kind of digging in, reaching on purpose so I can get a little bit of momentum, kind of a boost to kind of finish off a little bit greater range of motion on those rear delt flies, which is still fine. It's just, I mean, you're basically sacrificing some smoother range of motion to kind of increase the kind of the intensity or strength in the rear delt flies, but you definitely might want to opt for lowering this tower and just making it a nice, smooth, and fluid rear delt fly if you guys want to try it that way. Now I'm going to go ahead and detach that middle cable, and I'm going to be setting up for the prone squat. So you're going to go ahead and need just a resistance band, some sort of resistance to kind of keep yourself kind of locked in. Now, if you don't have a resistance band, I would say just do some variation of a squat. Even if you don't have anything like this, if you don't want to use the total gym or something like that, you could simply just do some body weight squats. That would be adequate as well. But this is a tried and true leg exercise I do many times this channel. It's one of my favorite, probably is maybe I've said this a lot, but probably is my favorite leg exercise to do on these sliding benches. So just you need some resistance, otherwise you just can't stay locked into the squat stand. You can anchor it number of spots you want to, but I'm just hitting, again, 15 repetitions, 10 to 15 repetitions. I keep the intensity pretty moderate, and you can see, I don't know if I was just lazy that day, but I only just opted for 10. I thought that was, good enough, but you definitely might want more than that. Starting set 2, I'm going to be up in the tower a little bit, just gradually, and even this might be overdoing it a little bit, especially with these chest flies. If this starts to bother your shoulder, you might see me do this here, a little bit of a different variation of chest flies. Instead of really coming out into a T, sometimes I'll bring my arms a little bit more further down, almost at more of a lower angle. You can kind of see that here. I'm not really trying to stretch back too much. I'm really trying to keep that focus and my tension right in the middle of my chest. Certainly you'll use your shoulders a little bit, but ideally you want to keep that tension in your chest. And so having these longer cables definitely makes it easier, but my point is don't overdo this one. You notice, again, I didn't get that many repetitions out of it. Then dropping again right back into that lateral raise. Again, we're at a higher tower height, so do what you can. You may have to drop this down a little bit lower. You can see I'm pausing about a second or two between each repetition. Now, after I finish this up, I'm just finishing up these last few sets here. Again, going to take really no rest, and in a second here, I'm going to sit up and I'm going to ditch the rear delt flies because this was just too much for me to squeeze out these last few repetitions. I'm going to do these high rows. I'll probably do a video of this in the future about ways to kind of feel and work the back a little bit more. You see I get one repetition. I realize that's just too hard to actually pull it off adequately. So I sit up in this higher angle, and I also kind of doing more of a higher row. My elbows are kind of flared up a little bit higher. I feel like that I always notice I notice this sensation, and I can feel my back muscles working a little bit more and engage a little bit more if I kind of get up on my knees and kind of lean in slightly versus if I just kind of sat with my butt on my legs like that. So for whatever reason, I just feel like I engage my lats and my rhomboids and even I'd say my traps a little bit more when I kind of sit up at that angle. But again, I did 10 to 15 repetitions on that one. And then we're just going to repeat this whole sequence again. So that's pretty much it. We'll do one more set after this. I'm going to still keep ditching the rear delt flies for the high rows. And that's going to be it for this circuit. I'll see you guys at the start of circuit 3. All right, I lied a little bit. I'm going to jump in really quick because I know this is one little thing I did. Since I'm raising this incline to just making it a little bit higher, I realize that the flies are going to be pretty tough to pull off that 15 to 20 repetitions or even 10 repetitions. So I just do a couple presses and then also into some flies as well. So I'll do a few presses here, then I'll jump into some of those modified flies that I mentioned, I kind of alluded to earlier, that I actually didn't do in that set. So you'll see it. I'm going to do some presses. Going to engage a little bit more by kind of leaning in a little bit more. I made a whole video kind of talking about that, how I feel it more in my chest when I kind of lean in a little bit more. And now I'm going to do this modified fly, kind of almost like a little bit of a frontal raise, but you can see now that's a lot higher intensity. I'm really lowering my arms a little bit more to kind of squeeze out those extra reps. But I don't really get too much out of this because anymore, if I get my hands a little bit flared out a little bit more, I definitely put a little more stress on my shoulders. So you can try that if you guys would like. And even on this one, these lateral raises, like I said, are going to be pretty tough. So that's it with circuit 2. I'll see you guys at the start of circuit 3. All right, finishing up circuit 2, getting ready to jump into circuit 3. I'm going to drop the tower height again, just like circuit 2. If you guys want to make this a little bit lower, make this a little bit easier, you guys can. I still opted for a little more of a higher intensity in this workout, even at the baseline first set for this circuit. So first thing I'm going to do is some frontal raises. Ignore what I'm doing there. Started doing some flies there for a second. I'm going to do some frontal raises. Again, this can be kind of difficult for some people being at this high tower setting and doing them like this. Another alternative would be to kind of lay face up on your back, inverted. You can do frontal raises that way. I'm going at a little bit more of a quicker tempo, which might make things a tiny bit easier, but it's kind of what's basically out of necessity since this is getting a little bit more of a higher intensity. But again, I wanted to kind of feel more tension on this one, so that's why I kept that tower height high. Jumping right into some bicep curls, again, 10 to 15 repetitions. Even though this will be a little bit easier in the frontal raises, still can be fairly difficult for most people. Again, making sure the shoulders aren't moving too much and just the elbows is what is extending and then flexing. After we finish these out, after these about 10 to 15 repetitions till about, I don't want to say failure, just where you got maybe a few left in you, go ahead and hop off the machine. Again, I know I keep saying this whole workout. If you guys want to lower this tower height, I definitely say maybe this might be a good time to do that as well, because this will get a little tricky and a little more difficult. Just doing some face down tricep extensions. You could lie straight on your stomach, or you can do what I'm doing here, just getting on your knees. Main thing though, as always, just like with the bicep curls, focus, make sure the shoulders are locked in, they're kind of retracted as much as you can, and just the elbow joint is what's moving. So I'm really flexing as much as I can at the elbow and then extending as much as I can. A problem I was having with this workout, honestly, I think it's my sweatpants. I'm just a little more slippery, so I'm kind of like sliding down this machine, which was kind of becoming an issue, especially when we get to set 2 and set 3. So I don't know if that was just the fabric or whatever, but a little bit of a problem. Just kind of making sure you're standing upright on this machine as that tower height gets a little higher. And then the next exercise in this circuit, to make it again part of this total body sequence here, just doing some single leg squats, just some tried and true basic single leg squats. You could be straight up face up on your back. I like to kind of do the side lying version. Laying a face up is totally adequate as well. I just feel like I kind of can, engage my glutes a little bit more when I do it this way. I can get a little bit lower into this angle, but I know for some people this might be a little bit difficult, a little more cumbersome. Again, I'm only opting for about, you can see probably that was only about 10 to 12 repetitions. Just do whatever you did in each leg, and then that's about it. So pretty much self-explanatory for this workout, guys. There's not much else to add to this other than we'll just be doing, again, 2 more sets. I'll be upping that tower height to, I think, the highest setting towards the very end. And that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this workout. As I always say, if you guys want to keep seeing these workouts, want me to keep recording workouts, I'll keep doing it. If you're new to the channel, if you've got this far, thank you. If you're even listening to me at this point, a lot of people kind of tune out and have already skipped ahead or have not even watched the rest of this video. But always remember to check out my playlists, where all my workouts are there and kind of collected. If you guys want, just, you don't want to think about what to do for the day, feel free to grab and choose total body, lower body, upper body, whatever. I gotta include some more core workouts, but in the future I'll add some more. I am adding, as I'm kind of talking over this, I do throw in a couple of these little pull-ups on the machine. I'd say this is more optional on these sets. If you want to throw in some pull-ups, go ahead and do that. But I'd say it's kind of more optional in these sets. But I will kind of keep including that into this circuit a little bit. So it's up to you. Thanks again for watching, you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video.